But what we can do is make a different decision. And what I see is that we allow the influences of our culture that are obviously broken influence us. Not taking responsibility for what is yours is not masculinity. Bragging about how you don't take care of your girl is not masculinity. That's like a high school boy. That's not grown man. I'm sorry, a grown man that comes into my life and you're bragging about what you don't do for the last woman or what you didn't do for the last woman, that's not masculinity. That's not strength. That's not strength. That's weakness. Strength is, I'm going to give you the best I can with what I have. And if you don't do right by me, I trust God to be my vindicator. That's strength. Why? Because I'm taking a risk. Risk taking is strength. Hiding behind a platinum prism and afraid of what? That's not strength. That's weakness. Hiding in the wine press like Gideon is weakness. Getting out on the battlefield in front of a Goliath, that's strength. And too many of us are praising hiding in the wine press Gideon and making that strength. When you're avoiding commitment, that's hiding in the wine press. Hiding under a rock. That's not Goliath. That's not a King David. King David was not like that. King David showed up to every match. He showed up, and even when he made a mistake, he went before the Lord and he repented. He repented so much so. And he paid the consequences for his actions, and he never did it again. It's not a King David to hide from commitment. It's not a King David to hide from covenant. It's not a King David. And I'm just saying one. I'm just saying one man in the Bible, because I can talk about Moses, how he did use Gideon, how he used Noah, how he used Abraham, how he used Isaac, how he used Jacob, how he used Daniel, how he used the Hebrew boys, how he used Isaiah and Jeremiah, how he used the disciples, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, I think there was another John, Paul, Peter. He uses people, but we have to be willing to take risks. Not, I'm going to spend the night with you. I don't know your name. I think you're kind of cute with the lights off. So let me just get this off real quick and move on to the next one. That's not strength. That's not strength. That lacks discipline and lacks integrity. I'm sorry. I think it's strong when a man can see women and women could be throwing themselves at them and they could be like, nah, I'm good on that. Like the fact that you're doing that, like, nah, that's strength. A man that has hundreds of women throwing themselves at him and he could say no to them, that's strength. A man that can't say no, it's not strength at all. It's weakness. Because we would say the same thing for another woman, right? If a woman was, she can have these guys and she's sleeping with, even if she's sleeping with a third of the men that are coming at her, we're going to call her what? I'm sorry. Same thing with you guys. Lacking in sexual integrity and lacking sexual discipline is not strength. Being run by lust is not strength. Lacking discipline is not strength. Not willing to take responsibility is not strength. Not willing to commit is not strength, it's weakness. Running away from commitment and trying to find a way to justify it is weakness. It's the ultimate level of weakness. Strength is, I'm taking responsibility for my actions. We cry about or say, what is it? What do they say? Take accountability. Take accountability. Take accountability. Yes, taking accountability is taking responsibility. And too many of us are trying to dip and dodge responsibility. No, that's weakness. That's weakness. We want to make fun of men. It's so backwards in our society where we want to make fun of men that have been married for 30 years. Why are we making fun of men that get married and they've been married for a long period of time? You know how much discipline it takes to be married and stay married? You know how hard it is to stay married? We're so focused on saying I do. Do you know how hard it is to stay married? It's easy to get married. Stay married that's the battle. There's a lot of men, and now I see it as a red flag, where they're like, they've never been married, and oh my gosh, I want to get married. And I appreciate a man wanting to get married now. I'm not mad at that. But there's a lot of men that want wives that are not ready to be husbands. They're not ready to be faithful. They're not ready to consider somebody else in their decision making. They're not willing to, they're not ready to make any of the sacrifices that are required to be a husband. And the reverse is true. There's a lot of women who want to be wives, but are not qualified to be a wife. You don't have the character to be a wife. And there's a lot of men who lack the character to be a husband, want to be a husband. No. Let me say that again. They want a wife. They don't want to be a husband. A lot of men are like that. They want a wife, but they don't want to be a husband. They want you to be a wife and be a good wife and do this and do that and blah. But them being a husband? Oh no, you asking for too much. Being a husband is not for the weak. Deciding to, if a man says to Sam, I'm talking about myself, third person. But if a man says to me, I want you to be my wife. I want to walk down the aisle. I want to see you every single day. I want to wake up to you every morning. I want to see you in the shower when I get up, when I go to sleep. I want you to have my children. I want to be with you forever. I want you to be the thing I go to events with and go do these things with. Right? The man says that to me. I'm like, oh, okay. So what are you? So you ready? You ready to just be with me forever? There's men that will say that, but they're not ready to be a husband because now I depend on you. Now I'm looking to your leadership. Now you're saying to me that you're my covering. I'm not doing it world's way. I'm doing it God's way. God's way says that the man I say I do to, as I'm submitting to him, he's submitting to God. And as he is my covering, he is taking responsibility of me. He is taking responsibility of me in all that I come with. Some men, they just like the idea of having a certain woman in their life. They don't like the idea. The reality of taking responsibility of her is where we lose it. Again, I'm going back to the idea, and this is my number 2, is men running away from responsibility, dipping and dodging responsibility, running away from commitment, that's weakness. That's not strength. Committing in a world that doesn't commit is strength. Having discipline in a world that glamorizes shortcuts, not strength. A man of God, any man that you see in the Bible, God will speak to them. They will have to carry a mantle, and that mantle will often cause them to sacrifice every plan that they had of their own. In Ephesians 5, it talks about what a man has to do as far as taking responsibility. And let's read that together so that we have a clear understanding of what that says. Lord, of course, my thing doesn't want to work here. There we go. But again, y'all, women, I'm not letting women off the hook because women, we have a responsibility too. And I'm going to talk about that. It says in Ephesians 5:25, a command for husbands to love their wives with a sacrificial and purifying love. A sacrificial and purifying love. Ephesians 5:25. Y'all can do what y'all want to do, and you can let culture determine what you decide to do. But I will tell you, your legacy will feel every choice you make. Every decision you decide to make today, your legacy will feel those decisions. They will look at your life and they will either choose to be who you were or be better. They'll talk about you as the hero or talk about you as the person they don't want to be anything like. You have a choice. How will you leave your legacy to your next generations? Will you run in fear, avoiding commitment, lacking discipline, and finding ways to justify it biblically? As if God is telling you to be the neighborhood, neighborhood ride. God cannot bless that. The enemy can though. The enemy can do a lot with you, and then he'll spit you out and find somebody else. Today's men, or the men that people are saying they want to aspire to be, or the men that we're propping up in our community, again, anybody can be redeemed. We all can make different decisions. But I'm not going to let you call that strength. I'm not going to let nobody call that strength. That's weakness. It's weakness. There's ways that I've lived my life, family, and I can look back on it and I can say, dang, that was toxic. Dang, you know what? I should have done better. You know what? There's ways I could have done this, and I could have made better decisions in this. Like, I can look back over my life and I can say where I've gone wrong and where I wish I could have done things. I really can. I really can. I can take accountability for the fact that there are definitely some ways I wish I could have done things. I mean, just in my life in general. But one thing I've decided to do in this part of my life, in this journey, if you watch any of my podcasts before, I've said a lot that I will not allow fear to drive me any longer. That fear will not be my decision-making authority any longer. And I encourage the people on here today that are watching me. If fear is what has you in a chokehold and has you making decisions that are less than what's God's best for you, I ask for you to reconsider. There's nothing about God that brings about fear. The enemy uses fear to keep you not obeying God, to keep you doing you, what you're comfortable with, but less than your optimal calling. Men, God wants men back in the church. God wants godly families. That's what God desires. God desires men of covenant, men that are standing boldly for him. He is actually actively tearing down every influence that is not of that as we speak. You will continue to see men that have decided to do it their way and not God's way. You will absolutely continue to see them be exposed in the way that they are being exposed in this generation. God is tearing those things down. Why? Because men mean a lot to God. Adam came first. And men are actively rejecting God's way. Men are actively rejecting God, and they're actively rejecting God's way. And do you think God is pleased? No. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you guys. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, y'all. Let's not just be every once in a while. Let's become family, okay? Friends that are family. Okay, join my family today.